Trump says around 10. You say how much and why the numbers differ.
All right, so we come to 2.9
Billion.
and billion, still billion.
Still with the B.
A lot of money that Trump has. Two big differences between our valuations. He gives himself, in at least one estimation of his own net worth, $3.3 billion for his branded developments and licensing deals. We don't treat that as its own line item. The other big thing is golf courses. He values those at $2 billion. We get about a little less than $600 million.
All right, so let's just take the second one. Valuing a golf course. It doesn't really have a value unless you sell it. Right?
Absolutely. A lot of people, will buy golf courses not to make money, but
But how did you appraise the value of the courses as compared to how he appraises it?
So something we had that nobody else has ever had before when doing this task is he disclosed revenue figures for each of those courses in his FEC disclosure to the government. Right. So we still don't know the exact cost structure of those, but we know on a revenue basis as compared to courses owned by publicly traded firms.
But is that the only thing that determines the value of a course? Couldn't you argue that a course branded with the Trump name, even with the same revenue as another course, could be worth more if you sold it?
Absolutely, and we do. So we talked to experts who said there is a real Trump brand premium for golf. His name means a lot. Those courses are very well manicured. They're really fun to play, really well designed. So when we looked at identifying what comparable courses would be good to analyze his against, we picked the best ones and the most generous multiples available at
There's nothing as good as the Trump name, but whatever, John.
Well, I want to stay with the name thing, just because it seems to me that the biggest disparity between how Trump values himself and how most of the rest of the world, or people who look at this seriously, do, is on the question of brand valuation. Right?
Absolutely.
And the name itself. I don't think anybody thinks that you can do this in a precise way, right? And I also don't think anybody thinks that brands are worth nothing, right?
Sure.
So how, without getting too green eye shady about it, how do you evaluate the value of a brand?
Right. So again, another benefit we had was the FEC disclosure. We get to see all of these companies, many of which are essentially bank accounts for accepting these licensing revenue and royalty revenue for all these different books and branding deals for buildings around the world. And we can get an idea of the cash flow that's coming in specifically from those deals, given the minimums and maximums, 32 to 55 million just from those alone.
So when he says his brand is worth many billions of dollars and you guys come in at a much lower number, is he just making that up?
Well, we don't know what his methodology is to come up with that. Certainly, it would probably have to include more than just those royalty and licensing revenues.
I'm told by one source he uses an American-made abacus. Just one source, though. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, it's generally understood by him that his name means you can sell condos at higher prices, right. You can sell hotel rooms at higher prices.
Seems to be true.
People around the world believe that. They pay him to put his name on things he didn't develop, he didn't build, he doesn't own.
So in the context of the presidential race, in the end, there's a voyeuristic interest in whether it's 3, 4, 5, or 11. But what matters is how liquid he is, right, if he's going to spend money on ads. So you all have a sense of how liquid he is, but what's the range there? And again, what counts for the discrepancy?
So the range in his disclosures in terms of his cash position was at a minimum about 70 million, at the maximum about 300 million. And that's what we give him because he has said many times in the press that he has that much liquid.
What of his non-liquid assets could he convert over pretty easily?
Well, that's the nice thing about all his marquee properties is they aren't too levered. So he has all of these big buildings that if ever he needed to take a mortgage out, I mean, he has the ability.
And if you look at his wealth as you estimate it, and then you look at his liquidity, how does he compare to most billionaires?
I mean, you would tend to want, about 10% liquid, and that's just right about what he has. Yeah.
Just let me take a viewers behind the scenes a little bit on this. How cooperative was Donald Trump in terms of you reporting this story?
So when we first reached out to Trump and his people, they invited us over, and we had initial conversations. Once we started talking about our numbers as opposed to like the ones say they released in conjunction with the announcement of his presidency, the conversation stopped.
Stopped. Just cut you off.
We had an initial story on June 16th, and we didn't have comment from them on that beyond the conversations we had with them on
before
June
the communication stopped, was there something they pointed out where you had a spirited dispute with them? They said X is true, and you said actually X is not true?
Well, it was always a debate about that top line number. We never got to have conversations about occupancy rates, cap rates, operating income margins, or anything like that on the record that would help us evaluate their numbers beyond $3.3 billion for a brand.
He just sold an apartment here for like $22 billion, although his daughter was quoted as saying that wasn't about getting more liquid for the presidential campaign. Does he have a lot of assets like that he could sell if he wanted?
So at that building in particular, 502 Park Avenue, he has I want to say more than 20 unsold condo units that could be deployed to
in that price range.
So not all of them. That was a full floor unit. Some are smaller, but we value those collectively at $200 million.
You might want to think about buying one of those. They'll probably give you a deal on it.